So, Tom Arnold is best known for his roles on Roseanne, True Lies, The Jackie Thomas Show. He's also credited with over 200 appearances on IMDb. And so let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Tom Arnold.
Where should I sit? Right here?
Yep.
Fantastic. Shana Tova, everybody. It's New Year. I'm Jewish. And but it's 5783, so it's sundown.
Oh.
Yeah, we have longer. It's just 2022 with you guys.
That's right.
Anyway, it's great to be here.
Yeah, welcome to Cincinnati.
This has been I've had a great time here at this festival, do you call it?
Expo.
Expo?
We'll go with Expo.
People are great. You know, I've been to Cincinnati before to do stand-up and sports stuff, obviously. And but this is fantastic.
Did you come here to watch the Bengals at any time?
Well,
you said sports
you know, I watched them in the Super Bowl because they played in L.A.
Yes.
And the Rams. And people seem a little worried about them. They shouldn't. My team is the New York Giants, and they've won 2.
Yes.
They're going to F it up. I'll tell you right now. The Bengals will get it. They'll turn that quarter.
I hope so.
No worries on them. They're solid. Football season is very long, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see what happens.
15 more games.
Yeah. Is that crazy?
Yeah. So you started in stand-up.
I did.
When you first started. What led you to stand-up?
Well, when I was a kid, I was raised, I'm from Ottumwa, Iowa, which is a little Iowa town, a meatpacking town. And my dad raised us kids. My mom was a lunatic, but my dad raised us kids. But when he got married to my mom when he was 18, she was 16, pregnant. So when he was 22, I was 4, my sister was 3, my brother was 1. And I think of that often now because I'm a single dad with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, holy hell, that must have been some deal for this guy. But he worked at a factory there, and he worked very hard. And but the only time we really heard my dad laugh, and I mean laugh hard, was when there was a Bob Hope special on. Bob Hope was a great comedian and would go around to Vietnam or Korea or wherever and entertain troops and bring pretty women with him. He was a little, they'd do jokes, and it was great. And we'd hear our dad downstairs just laughing, guffawing. And I thought, whatever it is Bob Hope does, I think that's what I want to do. So I'll make him laugh. So one of the first things I did in Hollywood, I moved out there in 1988 to write the Roseanne show. And one of the first things I did for television was a Bob Hope special. And I think we were dressed like Robin Hood, and we had tights on. And so my dad, he called my dad. I told him about my dad. He called him. He wrote all this stuff for him, And so my dad, back in Ottumwa, Iowa, in the same living room that he used to watch Bob Hope when I was a baby, watched Bob Hope with me, his son. How crazy is that?
That is crazy. So
then I thought, okay, that's my goal. There's nothing else to achieve. I just, you do something for your dad or your family. You're like, that's a big deal. But and then Bob Hope got me involved with USO, and I've met several soldiers here who were in Afghanistan the last time I went. I'm telling you, you do shows for the USO, man. You're like, oh, I can do anything because whatever it takes to get these guys. And there's some crazy. I wrestled. I beat. I'm from Iowa. We're very proud of our wrestling, but I beat the #1 Marine wrestler in front of. There's 1,000. We were at Bagram, screaming. People. Some on my side. Some. Oh, by the way, it's a woman, and I have to. But she was #1. And at the end, I beat. I outweighed her by 100 pounds, and at the end, I somehow made that move where you grab and get him over. But I was bloodied and just covered with, she kicked my ass. But it was that's the kind of stuff you do. You do whatever it takes.
Did that help you when you started wrestling for TNA Impact?
Oh yeah, I did that show. Oh yeah, I love wrestling. I grew up with wrestling. Huge. I love it still. My son, who's 9, and we watch the wrestling shows. You know, he's very excited because a guy named Jake Paul or Logan Paul, that's who he, is going to be on whatever it is, WWE.
He's facing Roman Reigns.
I mean, that's who my kids, their perspective is these YouTube people. Like, if I say who is a great boxer, he'd be like Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Like, what kind of crazy, but it forces me to kind of pay attention to this stuff because it is a different world. And so wrestling, when I was younger, Andre the Giant came to my town at the Coliseum to wrestle. And at the end of his match, I told my friends, I'm going to get up over the ropes. I'm going to touch him. And I got up over the ropes. And as he was walking out, I touched him. So I touched Andre the Giant. I got the shit knocked out of me. Let me tell you something. It was so worth it. I was like bloodied. I had a tooth knocked out. It scared me. I was like, my friend, I touched Andre the Giant. I don't.
Did Andre the Giant slap you?
No, he didn't have to. He didn't even feel me. But the security, because there's knuckleheads like me and my friends. And but it was so worth it. Just such an honor.
That's awesome. So how did you transition from stand-up to TV and then eventually movies?
My whole goal was to be on TV once so the people in my hometown would like me. And it turns out you can be on TV a million times and there's people that's not going to like you. But I just had this dream as a kid. I worked on the kill floor of a meatpacking plant for 3 years out of high school. After high school to save money for college because I thought if I get into that college, University of Iowa, they have a stage and they have a student union and you get up and tell jokes or play a song or read poems. I go, that's going to be the life changer because everybody in my town did the same thing. They all worked at the meatpacking plant or John Deere, which are very good jobs, And my dad had worked there. My grandpa worked there for 50 years. My uncle, everybody. And so, I was grateful to have that job, but you got to make your own fun on the kill floor of a meatpacking plant. And I would daydream that Mork and Mindy was on back then, if you remember that show, I would be chiseling heads or some shit job I had and daydream that I was best friends with Robin Williams. And after about the third year, I started thinking, it's just not, this isn't going to, how does this even work? Can you get from Tom, Iowa to Hollywood? And so I was like, I need to suck it up and just work here. And one night I went out to we got a disco. This is in 1980 disco, the redneck disco. Believe me, my parents wrote it, by the way. I went in there one day and they were line dancing, and I was like, "F that! I will never be back in this building again." They're their friends, doing their ruined it. But so I went to the jailhouse disco, and I came out on the street late at night on a Saturday night, and I saw a guy named Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman's a great comedian who was on the show Taxi, and just a brilliant guy. And he wrestled. He wrestled women. That's what it became his thing. And I asked him, why are you here in Ottumwa, Iowa? There's a place 20 miles from my home in Fairfield, Iowa, that has Maharishi International University where you can practice transcendental meditation and meditation. And so you get some people from around the world that come in there. And there had been a women's wrestling event at the Ottumwa Coliseum. And he had come in and watched it and then paid all the wrestlers to stay late to wrestle with him. And then he took everybody there to Happy Joe's Pizza. I don't know if you ever had Happy Joe's Pizza in Iowa or wherever, but it's the shit, man. I can't even tell you how many calories are in it, but it's great. And I thought, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be able to take people to Happy Joe's Pizza. But he did prove that you can get from Hollywood to Ottumwa, Iowa. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing I said I had to assume you could get it the other way. So the real reason I'm an actor is because when I was 4, my grandmother ran the community theater in our town. She was wonderful. Our mother wasn't around, but I had wonderful grandmothers. And so I wanted to do anything with her. So she had me in her plays, and there was The King and I, we did. And I played one of the kids, and the most beautiful woman in our town, Mrs. Bickford, played Anna. And, you have your little program at the end of your little run there. And I went up to her and asked her to please sign it. And she did, and she kissed me on top of the head. And I was like, boy, if that's what you get from acting, I'm going to be an actor. Because that felt good. But the Andy Kaufman thing. But then 10 years after I was chiseling heads, I was in San Francisco doing a movie with Robin Williams, a movie called 9 Months, which is one of my films I recommend. It's good, and especially if you had kids. And Hugh Grant, Julianne Moore, Jodie Cusack was my wife, Jeff Goldblum's in it. It was a great cast. Chris Columbus directed it, who had just done Mrs. Doubtfire. So Robin did a favor for him and played our doctor in this. And we were at Robin's house in San Francisco. We filmed up there about 5 months. The night before we started, and at dinner, and everybody's there. And then after dinner, I'm sitting there with just Robin and I said, hey, you know what? I've been here before. And he's like, you been to my house? I go, no, me, you, best friends. And he's like, we're not best friends. I go, I know, but this is so close. It's so close. Robin was a guy, everything good you've heard about him is true and more. And if I called him at 3 in the morning and said, so-and-so's in trouble, he'd be like, let's go get him, whether he knew him or not. Like, he was that guy. So very, I loved him,
Do you feel like that's when you met Robin Williams, because it was a dream of yours, do you feel like that's the moment that you made it, or you felt like you made it in Hollywood?
I don't know if you getting that writing job on Roseanne. Jesus, that show was awesome, and to be executive producer and kind of learn on the job. I'd done a couple comedy specials or been a part of stuff before that, including one of Roseanne's in '87, where I played her future husband. Shockingly, we weren't even together; we were buddies. We met when I was 23, back 1983, back in Iowa or in Minneapolis, where a guy said that owned a club up there, and I just moved up there from Iowa. He said, "Hey, I saw this woman in Denver. She's very funny. I'm going to have her come in, then you guys could do the shows this weekend. I think you're really going to like her." And she came in. She wasn't famous then, but she was so funny. I just never seen a comedian like her, and we hit it off. We went out partying for 3 days, and we would get together on the road, after that, before I moved out. Or, it was very helpful to me because she asked me to write jokes for her. And you always sort of do yourself, your character or whatever. But I knew her character, so I started writing jokes. And in 1985, she went on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. As we know, us older folks know, there was really one talk show back in the day, and that was Johnny Carson. And he could make or break you. You go on that Johnny Carson and kill for 5 minutes, he sits you down on the couch. Back in the day, you got a $100 million sitcom right there. And she went on, I was watching it with my buddies back in the Midwest, and she killed, and she did some jokes I'd written, which is, you're seeing that kind of magic, like, and now I'm seeing that back. So at that moment, I'm like, I want to be a writer. I love doing stand-up comedy, but so then I got the job to write on her show, and I'm like, okay, I'm a writer. And then the second year, by '89, we were dating then, and the other writers were like, you got to be on the show because people will watch that. And I was like, okay. And so I did my first episode of the show, and I'm like, I guess I'm an actor now. Whatever it is. Wherever, I feel so blessed, and whatever pays, you got to do. And by the way, I've got 4 ex-wives and single dad with 2 little kids, man. I'm going to have to work forever. So that's why I really appreciate these things, because it's cool, Stand up these. I still do a bunch of movie stuff, and I did a show called The Rookie last week, The Rookie Feds. It's on ABC. It's a cop show. It's been on for a while, but then there's a new version. I did Arnold's Netflix. He's got a Netflix spy series that's coming out, and I went up to Canada and filmed a little bit with him. But I have to do a lot of stuff. And so that went along. We did, the first time we were on film, Roseanne and I, was a Freddy's nightmare. Like, we got a call, I think it was the 6th one. We were super fans of that series. And the director called and said, would you guys be willing to do a day on the movie? And we were like, hell yeah, we will. We love that. We love Robert Englund. We love the whole thing. We love how the humor, so we did that, which, of course, you go to something like this, you got those pictures. And Then some things popped up. I got my first scene in another kind of movie was with Dustin Hoffman, and which is crazy to me. And us older folks, I mean, he's, and then in 1993, my agent, William Morris, Roseanne and I's agent, thought we were leaving the agency. So there was a movie I knew big people were auditioning for it called True Lies. I think legitimately big for this part. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then the third guy. And there was big people, and I didn't even think about it I just thought it was impossible. My agent called and said, hey, Jim Cameron wants to meet with you. And I was like, that is bullshit. But, because they called Jim Cameron and said, please, for William Morris, we do a lot of business with you. Please meet this guy. Just meet him. You don't have to. So I almost didn't go because I was embarrassed. Like, it's a mercy meeting, right? But then I thought, how the hell else am I going to meet James Cameron? I'm going to go down to his office and have this meeting. So we go in there. He's great. Funny, we chit-chat a little bit. And then he's like, okay, do the scene. And it was like, yeah, I didn't even read the scene. And he's like, why? I go, because I'm not getting the movie. It's better to not have tried than to have tried and then be disappointed, which is a lesson I'm teaching my kids. But he's like, oh, well, it's 3 pages. Just while you're here, read it. So I read it one time, and then he's like, huh. And then he yelled, get Arnold down here. Arnold was upstairs in the loft. I didn't know he was there, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I see Arnold coming down the stairs, and we do the scene once, and the chemistry is so good, and it's amazing. And by the way, the reason James Cameron said he cast me is because when Arnold was walking down the stairs, I actually said, I could take him. He said, that's the guy I want in this movie. I was actually, you dudes, we size up guys like, what would I have to do to? But then he said, you got the part. This all happened in this one, but you can't tell anyone for 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, I swear to God, I won't tell anyone the best news of my life for 2 weeks. So I go out to my car. Remember, we had those big phones. I'm calling everybody. Nobody believes it. My own ex-wife says, are you back on drugs? I was like, and by the time I got home, I went, maybe it didn't happen. I was looking at myself in the mirror like, that's
a
crazy.
fever dream.
What is going on? Well, I didn't know the reason he had to wait 2 weeks. I didn't know it until after the movie came out. But Jim Cameron had to go to Fox Studios. And he went down there. He said, hey, I got great news. We can start filming True Lies because I found the third guy. And they're like, that is fantastic news, Jim Cameron. Who is it? And he's like, it's Tom Arnold. They're like, yeah, that's horrible to Jim Cameron. And Jim's like, why? And they said, don't you read the tabloids? He's a crazy person. And Jim Cameron's like, no, I don't read the tabloids. But I wrote this movie, and he is the guy. And they're like, well, we're very sorry, but we cannot approve Tom Arnold for this movie. And Jim Cameron, to his credit, said, no, I'm the one that's sorry, because now I'm going to walk across the effing street and make the movie at Paramount. And they're like, you know what? We'll give Tom Arnold a chance. Let's see what happens. And he really went to bat for me. I mean, it turned out to be the smart thing, right? But so I didn't know that this drama had gone down, and so every day the Fox execs were coming to the set, and I was hugging them and high-fiving them. Thank you for loving me. Appreciate it. They're just looking for me to do something wrong to get me out of it. So we filmed the movie. It takes 7 months during Roseanne and I's divorce, it was very good, because in April of 1994, our divorce became public, and people are like, yeah, he will never work again. He'll be back in Iowa. He's riding her coattails. He'll be back in Iowa in 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, that's probably true. But I got to work 6 years on one of the best shows ever on television, and I'll have great stories for my grandkids. And Jim and Arnold are like, F those people, man. True Lies comes out in July, man. It's going to be a game changer for you. And I was like, I wish I could believe that, but it was. And 2 things happened. Once, when they tested the movie, people go into a place like this, and they don't know what movie they're going to watch. All of a sudden, it comes on the screen, James Cameron movie. People are like, yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. And then they got to my name, and people booed. But by the end of that 2-hour movie, they have to fill out these cards, and the character they liked the best was mine. So that was a big, in a 2-hour, and people who did not know me and did not like me went, I still don't know him, but he's good in this movie. He must be an okay guy. How can you. So I was very grateful, and because that was a crucial, crucial time for me. And since then, I've been at 130.
Yes.
I always say 130 movies, 4 good ones. And, but no, there's a few that are good. I've had a lot of great opportunities.
We can start taking questions, too, if you guys want to line
Oh,
up
yeah,
over
I've
here.
been rambling.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Is that so you've been at, like I said, when I talked about a lot of movies, a lot of television shows, what do you think is the role that you're most proud of?
Oh, geez. I've done some hard movies that I did not want to, where I played a very bad person. And, there's one called Gardens of the Night that's about these kids that live in Hollywood on the streets and why they live there because of the abuse. And I played them. They needed me to play the baddest of the bad guys. John Malkovich was the good guy. That's how crazy this movie, to get it made. And I thought, well, this is important, and I did that. And because I think that's a good thing to talk about abuse and how do people get homeless? How do these kids get homeless? I feel the same thing about veterans. How do they get homeless? There's a thing, and we're addressing it more. We talk about post-traumatic stress. We talk about this, substance abuse, mental health. But so I did this movie. I played a very bad guy. In fact, the kid I'm playing his dad in The Rookie Feds was my partner in these heinous crimes of children, of selling children, of doing this stuff. It was awful to film, but it was good. And there was another movie called Animal Factory, which is an Eddie Bunker book, which a lot of great actors were in. Willem Dafoe, it's a prison. We filmed at Holmberg State, I think it's called up there. It's a shut-down prison outside of Philadelphia. And so I had a lot of reality to it. And my fear was that when people saw me, they'd be like, oh, this is great. Steve Buscemi's directing. He's great. All these other great actors are in here. But when they see me, it's going to take them out of the movie, because I played a very bad person there. But so I was holding my breath at the screening, but it worked. There's a movie called Happy Endings where Maggie Gyllenhaal's my girlfriend, and who I love, Maggie Gyllenhaal. In fact, I loved her. And the director Don Roos, who wrote and directed the part for me, and Maggie, Jason Ritter's my son. Jason Ritter's solid gold, man. I love that kid. But I thought I liked that movie. In fact, Maggie and I went to Don Roos because we were supposed to break up, our characters. And we said, we don't feel we should break up. And he said, that's what you are breaking up, and I want you to remember that tomorrow when we shoot that stuff. So once in a while, you kind of fall in love with people. And I definitely, because Maggie Gyllenhaal is great. We had a love scene with clothes off. And the director's like, hey, I'll let you guys figure out how to shoot this. I go, I don't want that thing. If you're shooting from the side, I'm going to be on the bottom because she has an amazing body. I have my body. And she's like, don't worry, I've done a million of these, which she had. But it was a great, that was and then I ended up married to Lisa Kudrow. And there's a lot of great actors that do stuff in that movie. I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'll let you, I'm sorry. We were flying to New York, Maggie Gyllenhaal and we're sitting in the front row of the plane. We're going there to do press. And all of a sudden, in comes Daniel Day-Lewis and sits down a couple, 3 rows behind us. I'm like, holy shit, that's Daniel Day-Lewis. Are you kidding me? She goes, no, it is. Let me see. And we're discreetly trying to figure out where he is. And we go, we got to meet him. Daniel Day-Lewis is, if you're an actor, you're like, oh, that guy is just different level. So I go, we got to meet him. I go, I got a plan. I'm going to get up after we take off. I'm going to go to the overhead above his. And then I'm going to be like looking around. You come and help me look for whatever it is we're looking for. So anyway, gets up. I go start the overhead, which is way far from where our overhead was. And I'm like, and then Maggie's like, let me help you. And we do it. And then and we're doing it. We're trying to figure out how to say hi to him. And he's like, hi, Tom and Maggie. We're like, oh, my God, you know us? That's so crazy. And But our acting was so bad in front of Daniel Day. It's not what you want to do. Like, oh, is it up here? Oh, you're here. Oh, geez. But, it's great to be a fan. I am such a fan of, people in our business or, I'm a huge sports fan. You got to be a fan of stuff. People that get locked up like, I'm a fan of me and nothing else, I can't give that out. That's a shit way to live your life, man. You got to be a fan. It's fun. It's fun being a fan.
It's a lot of dedication to just be one thing.
What's that?
It's a lot of dedication to just one thing, too, right?
What do you mean?
You got to be a fan of everything, like you said.
You don't have to be a fan of everything. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan.
No, that's true.
I'm not the other team.
Hawkeye fan.
But you got to have your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's got to be something you can't do. You got to be a fan of people and things that are greater than you, because they are. Mm-hmm. There are things in this universe that are greater than me. I didn't make this. You know what I mean? I didn't make this. I'm talking because it's a Russian shot at that. Like but I didn't make this. And you see magic in these athletes too. I had a sports show, best sports show period. I loved it. I would have done it for free probably. But to get paid that much money to talk about sports, talk about a great freaking job. And I love the people I worked with. And my idols would come on the show. I'd be sitting next to, Willie Mays and Ernie Banks. And I'd play football with Joe Montana. And it was crazy. And it was great fun. I'd love to do that again, but you got to be a fan. Okay, buddy, you. Do I know you?
Not really, no. Okay. And I got kind of a two-part question about True Lies.
Of course you do.
Yeah. When you said you could take Arnold and you filmed the scene where he grabs you and pins you against the SUV, was that a Pants Starkin moment, or was it like, we're all in control here, it's good fun?
Well, yeah, I let him pin me up against the wall. I let him, But Arnold's very good at the physical stuff, man. He knows how to, there's some people that do those stunt stuff that don't know what they're doing. You get hurt. Like me, I punched Hugh Grant in the face. We were making, at the end of 9 months, we're in the delivery room, if you've seen it, with Rob Williams, and our wives are there. Just what a coincidence. We're having babies at the same time. And it's hysterical. Rob Williams is acting crazy. And there's a point where I'm supposed to punch Hugh Grant in the face. And they shoot from behind, so you can't. And he's like, because early in the movie, I'd punched, there was like a dinosaur, not Barney, but they called him Arnie, at a toy store where Hugh Grant and I were shopping for our kids. And the director, before we started, said, you could hit him anywhere except the eye, because that's metal. And I got into the fight, and I remember him saying the eye, and I was like, oh, he said to hit him in the eye. And I hit this dude, and he's a big dude, a big stuck guy. He went down, his eye was cut, and we kind of got it back to it. He wouldn't go to the hospital, he wanted to finish the scene. But Hugh Grant witnessed that. I felt terrible, So when I was supposed to punch him, he's like, bloody, no. I don't trust Tom. I go, dude, I've been in a lot of action movies. I'm not going to cross this line. If I don't cross that line, you don't get hit. There's no way they shoot it, they. And it got so hectic when we started the scene that I crossed the line and just smashed him. And he fell down. He's like, bloody hell. And Julianne Moore, who really was not a big fan of Hugh Grant, she played his wife. So all of a sudden she was in the hospital bed. She's like, bloody hell. Oh, my God, that's all that people said the rest of the movie. He felt bad that he said that. He got up, shook it off. But, Arnold, there was a lot of good stuff there. When I went up to Toronto last month, he made me ride a bicycle with him. He rides a bicycle. He's a crazy person. We ride motorcycles. He'd always go in the front over at PCH, which is, it's a good place to wreck. I wreck mine. And I always like to be in the back. I don't have to be up there with him, because I want to see where the bumps are and see if shit goes down, man. And he's like, well, let's go ride the bicycles into traffic downtown Toronto. And I'm behind him because I'm like, shit. First of all, I didn't know if I could do it, But watch it. He's out there, 75 years old, just killing. And then he wanted to pull over so we could take a picture. And I noticed that the way he posed, he's still very thick. Mm-hmm. But it posed in such a way, because I'm taller than him. You can't tell that. You just see this strong guy with a, cigar. He's very,
So he was riding a bicycle in Toronto.
Yeah, we were riding our bikes. He does it every day.
I kind of want to see a picture of that now with him.
What's that? I posted it all. And Arnold posted it. It's crazy, but it was great fun, And he had matching shirts he wanted us to wear, and then he wanted me to keep my cigar in my mouth, And I was like, I can't do. You could do that when you're pedaling. I can't. Mine fell out on the pavement, which is probably a felony up there, littering. But I go, I can't. He had it all planned out. He does. Like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be dressed the same, which is great. It's great. We got to hang out a lot. It was great fun.
Yeah. And my next one was, do you have any other fun or funny stories when you were all filming on set of that?
Well, we were filming with Bill Paxton. Let me tell you about Bill Paxton, man. That guy, nobody loved making movies more than Bill Paxton. I don't know if you're aware of him or his many roles, but it was very fun because Bill knew Jim Cameron since they started the business. They started as, crew members, like moving furniture, putting up walls, distressing sets. So they were old friends, and Bill could make fun of Jim Cameron. Jim Cameron gets a little wound up, and especially when you go over, the budget. It goes over budget. And he takes it very personally. But we can have fun. I'm going to tell this brief story. It's unfortunate. Arnold hates this story. I love Arnold. He's a badass. But we were filming on Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. But you film on that street. To shut that street down because it's by the White House, the Capitol, the whatever, it's a big deal. You can't just... So it's shut down. There's 500 people watching us. We pull up in this scene. I'm in the front of the SUV. Arnold, Bill Paxton's right here. We pull up, and we're getting ready to do it, and the light goes out right here, the light outside the car that's shooting our light. And Arnold's like... And nobody loves being an American more than Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's so annoying. He loves this country so much. He came here in 1968 with a pair of short shorts, I assume, and a stinky tank top and like 30 cents, and he's a billionaire. Every dream he's ever had has come true because of this country. It's good to, but he's a big rah-rah guy. So, the light goes out, and he's like, that'll be 20 minutes. I'll take you guys on a tour of the monuments. And I love the monuments. Anytime you land in Washington, D.C., you're like, holy shit, this is real, right? But seeing him through his eyes, there's a Lincoln Memorial, oh my God, we got it. And I'm looking at Bill. We come back around the block, and in the middle of the street is James Cameron. And James Cameron is like a 6'3" raw-boned Canadian. He's not like a regular director. And he is pissed because that light only took 2 minutes to fix instead of 20. So all these people are waiting. And Arnold doesn't do stuff like that. Like he was always to me, Tom, you'd be late. That'll be the day to need you. He's always... So we come back. Jim Cameron's in front of the car like this. Arnold pulls up to him. He slams his head down to the hood. He comes over to my door and opens the door. And then he starts to crawl over me, and I slink out of the car. James Cameron is like right in Arnold's face. He's like, you do that shit again, Paul Verhoeven's going to finish this fucking movie. Pardon my language. And so then he gets out, and then I get back in the car. I'm sitting there. I'm like, are you going to take that shit from that asshole, man? Look at all the people watching here taking pictures. And he's like, I have to. I screwed up. That's a good lesson, man. That screwed up. They made up, but... that's a solid. I've learned a lot of things from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a good dude.
Was True Lies the first time you met Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, we met before. Charity stuff and, Planet Hollywood stuff and but you really get to know people when you're 7 months with them every day. So, but yeah, we do stuff. We still do a lot of, we give out 10,000 gifts every year down in South Central L.A., with the cops. The cops wrap them. It's great there. And we really appreciate it. The Hollenbeck division down there. We do that. We do a Thanksgiving thing. We do the After School All-Stars, which is a great charity he started to help inner city kids get into school and, get their crap together. And it's funny because, Arnold loves comedy. Like he will mix it up with me on say and he'll take it too, if I give it back. So, he does so many good things, and he's just he's a great dude.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I just want to ask you about your time on Trailer Park Boys. I know it was very brief, but how was it working with the cast for that short time and behind the scenes? I've always wondered because I'm sure it was great and hilarious.
Thank you. I have hearing aids, but they're Bluetooth, and my kids keep putting their freaking TikTok videos in them, so I don't wear them. In big rooms, I need, Did she ask me about Trailer Park Boys?
Trailer Park Boys,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Those guys, Trailer Park Boys, when people come up and say, would you sign this Trailer Park Boys picture? And by the way, please come to my booth. We'll sign whatever we'll take pictures. I know they have a good sense of humor, the Trailer Park Boys, because not everybody knows the Trailer Park Boys. I was a fan of them so much. A buddy of mine from Fox Sports said, hey, there's a show in Canada. I'm going to send you copies of it. Can't watch it here, but I'll send you. I started watching it. I'm like, holy hell, this is so original. And these characters are amazing. So I called Jimmy Kimmel. I'm like, dude, I'm going to send you something. You aren't going to believe it. I think you should have these guys on your show. They've never been on TV in America. And he watched it. He loved them. So next time I went on Jimmy Kimmel, brought those guys with me. And then afterwards, after the show, Jimmy and I took them out to the Polo Lounge, which is a restaurant in the Beverly Hills Hotel. Like if you're a tourist, you're like, oh, I love that place. And so I took them out. Then I had to go home because of my kids. And so I called Jimmy the next day. I said, how did the rest of the night go? And he's like, it is still going. They are in my hot tub right now getting drunk. But they're legit. They're like the real deal. And I went with Snoop Dogg up there. I've done stuff with Snoop Dogg and Soul Plane. And, I always tell people there's 2 times, people smoke fake pot and drink fake booze on movie sets and TV, but not on Soul Plane or the Trailer Park Boys. Nobody was, but very authentic. We were pulling up. They got, I asked Snoop, I go, do you even know this show? And he's like, hey, man, I'm a super fan. I go, and I started rattling through episodes, and he knew them. So they come to get us, and we pull up into this not nice trailer park, and there's things of trash piled up in front of the trailers, and we're driving over to where we're going to film. And I said to Mike Smith, who plays Bubbles, by the way, the dumbest guy in a comedy group or team is the guy that's the brains of the operation. Abbott Costello, Lewis Martin, Hardy, Laurel and Hardy. The guy that plays the dumb guy is the brains. You will find that to be true. And so we're pulling up. I go, who's your set decorator? They did an amazing job. I mean, look at this. Looks like. And he's like, that's real. We don't have set decorator. That's real trash. These people stack their trash out in front. But it was great fun. They're very good guys. We've stayed friends. They're very authentic, and I love them. What a great opportunity for me to do.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question.
Oh, here we go.
I like your movie, The Stupids.
Oh, thank you.
And, I wanted to ask you how was filming the scene in which you tell everybody how you're your own grandpa?
Well, The Stupids is a movie you either really like or really hate. And I recently watched it with my kids because my kids, people have clips on TikTok. That's how my kids know. They're like, Dad, you're not TikTok famous. I go, well, search my name in there, dudes. And they had seen, so we watched it. It was enjoyable for me. Because it was on, I found myself going, boy, that was stupid. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's The Stupids. It's based on a children's book. But I'm My Own Grandpa is actually an old song. I think it's by Glenn Miller, but very old. I'm My Own Grandpa. Before we started filming, like a couple weeks before, the director, John Landis, said, here's a tape of I'm My Own Grandpa. Please learn it. We'll shoot it the last day. Well, we got to the last day, and I hadn't learned it. And he's like, I'm so bad. It's there's a lot of words in it. And so, but we were filming at a TV studio, a fake TV studio. It was a real TV studio, and I read it off the teleprompter, which worked for my character. Because it's hard to lip sync songs in movies, or, I have enough trouble doing looping, which is when you go back in and fix your words, or there was sound something, and I have to match, But yeah, that song is, that song works. Thank you very much. All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Please come by and see me, guys. Please come by. I appreciate you guys coming here. I appreciate the show. You did all right. I appreciate everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Tom Arnold. Thank you.